Hey everybody, Emmanuel here. Okay, today's lesson that I want to share with you is about um, resiliency, is about training yourself specifically for the mentality of, or training yourself not to give up. Okay, and being, that's one of those things that's hard to touch on, but not impossible. And it's no different than cold water dosing or fasting or other principles where you forego food or you endure some cold, and the main focus is always on the health and the health benefits of that. Um, and in training, a lot of times when people are training hard, they think that that's the only way you can train resiliency, and it's not necessarily the case. So I'm going to show you how to kind of build some roads into being a little more resilient, a little tougher. I think we can all agree that life, it seems like, has become very soft, even for a lot of us. Like, I mean, it gets really, I mean, the things we complain about in North America is really interesting. We should, it's really, quite pathetic, actually, to be really honest with you, right? So becoming more resilient is a vital component of our training. You don't have to do it all the time. It's a lot. I usually save it for when I feel really strong. Like really, I feel like, yeah, I'm ready for this, right? Like it's proper things for proper times, right? So let me show you how to kind of slowly start with this idea of developing resiliency, and how I found it in Systema, and how I've developed it in myself, and a really simple way of, maybe if you do it like once a month, twice a month, that you put this kind of training into play, and very specific for you not to give up, and to really focus on the health benefits, right? Because I mean, think of it, if somebody's fasting, they could just focus on starving, and the whole thing is a suffer. Same with cold water dosing. If you just think of how cold it is, it's horrible. If you can manage to endure that with the health benefits, you can actually see it and feel it too. So hopefully, that'll be communicated in today's class. So let's start with something as basic as a push-up, and I'll kind of talk to you. So what I like to do is I start off with a minute, or it could be 30 seconds, whatever it is, but we're going to hold the top of a push-up for like a minute. Okay, and depending on your level of fitness, it can be it could be a struggle or a torture. Now, what I'm showing you today, actually, a couple of teachers at my school integrated this as part of their English teachers, math teachers, and they put it as part of their curriculum, and the students love it, and they felt stronger, and they feel tougher, because when you work on resiliency, it kind of crosses borders. It goes into everything. It goes into helping you at work, helping you at home, helping you with decisions. Like, the idea of being resilient and tough that way is, it will touch all parts. So we're really kind of working on the whole person that is you, not just like physical aspects, like making you physically stronger. So we get into a push-up, and let me get there now. So again, depending on your level, you could stay on your knees, or you could go all the way up onto your feet, like I'm going to do now. So I'm going to come up in my push-up, and I'm just going to hold it. And I mean, I kind of know it. I have a clock over there. I'm going to watch it, and I'm just going to hold for a minute. And while I'm waiting here, I'm just going to focus on some breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And I'm going to kind of be scanning my body. Now, this is work that you probably should have done before this, meaning maybe through some sort of prayer or meditation, where you're lying down on the floor or seated in a chair, where you study how to breathe and scan your body, and scan it for just any tension or any hot spots in the body that are calling for your attention. So as I'm holding this push-up, I'm, obviously there's a little bit of work, so my muscles are working, but I'm trying to look for, I don't know, like, are my shoulders coming up, or my hips dipping, or my elbows shaking, or my knees caving in on the back end. Like, I'm trying to pay attention to my body as a whole. Like, how's the pressure on my hand? How's the pressure on my one foot on the back? I'm just trying to scan the body. We're at about 40 seconds now. And I'm just kind of looking, I'm just kind of analyzing. I got a silly fly on my arm, so just analyzing that. I'm just paying attention for any amount of discomfort and labor and breathing, like I'm talking now, but generally you'd be, breathing all the time. And it's about done. Okay. So then I would immediately sit or lie down. It's your choice. And I'm just, again, scanning my body, a practice that should ideally be done before this so you understand how to do it. But mentally, with my breath, and I'm just scanning my physical body. And of course, my arms are tired. My shoulders are tired. Like I can feel that they've worked. And not so much in my legs, not so much in my back or stomach, but mildly they are engaged. But it seemed like the upper body was more engaged, hence a push-up, right? I pay attention to my breathing. It's a little labored, but I'm talking. So, and then I'm kind of looking at my mental state. Did I want to bail on that? Was that specifically hard? And for myself, no. But you want to, look at what affected on your breathing, what affected on your physical body, like meaning collapsing, like where did the push-up collapse, right? Did it collapse in the shoulders or different parts of the body? It's telling you where there's a weakness. So if I was collapsing, let's say through my back, my low back was caving in, I would probably work on more abdominal work, physical structure to kind of support this area so that when I held the push-up, it wasn't the weak point. So you're looking for weak points, right? And then not criticizing them, but just analyzing them and then ticking it off, right? And saying, okay, that's where I got to do some more work. It could also have been in my mind. I could have maybe felt very like, God, I felt, weak. I just wanted to give up right away. And so you want to work on that. Like you want to work on maybe more of a positive mind frame, right? Like you want to, this stuff highlights in a simple way where the work needs to be done. Let's do it again, but this time we'll do it for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Personally, I never count. I'm doing it now just to give you guys a benchmark of some sort, but I do it by feel. So I bring myself to a point where I feel uncomfortable, I feel challenged, but I'm not aggravated. I bring myself to a place of frustration, sit there for a little bit. Some days it's 5 minutes, some days it's 8 minutes, some days it's 10 minutes, wherever, so I don't put a time on it. I just keep going. And again, you realize that the body will be different every day or whenever you decide to do it. So let's hold it for a little bit longer. And I'm looking for the effects. Now, the question will be how to use your breathing. And maybe I'll do that in the push-up so we can accomplish two things at once. So get into your push-up, okay, at the top again, and breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. And obviously at the beginning, you won't feel it as much, but later on, you start to feel that, like, let's say as 1 minute goes to 2 minutes for me, I will start to feel that, let's say my arms are feeling heavy or tired. So I would want to use my breathing. So I'm inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. And my mentality is either take out the discomfort that I'm feeling. So it's like with an inhale, I grab the tension or the weakness of some sort, and then I breathe it out. So I try to remove it from my body, mind, soul, like just get rid of it, and so I draw it in with a breath in, and I draw it out with a breath out. Now the trick is when you breathe out that you keep the goodness, right? Like you keep the strength. You don't, like, as you breathe out, you feel the body collapsing. No. You want to breathe in through the nose and you want to breathe out through the mouth. But the bad thing, like, you have to be saying, okay, so if my elbows were heavy, it's like, and then breathe out the weakness from, the pain or the uncomfort from that area. The other way you can do it is where I'm breathing in. So if my elbows were feeling weak, I would breathe into that spot and give it strength. So it's like, and I'm, that's hard to show, but I'm breathing and I'm talking to that part that's weak. If it was my mind, I would breathe out the weakness, and or on the regular, I'd breathe in strength. So you can play with this. Like sometimes it's easier to think of something that inspires you and to find strength or resiliency in that, or you can remove the discomfort, and you try to remove the weakness from you, right? But it depends on your disposition. Some people have a disposition one way or the other. They think of removing, or they think of putting in. Some people both. So this is interesting. So what I'm feeling now is doing this and talking is not easy. So not impossible, but I don't want to, I mean, I can do it, but I don't want to lose all the things I want to tell you guys. So those are the two ways with breathing, is that either the breathing supports the structure that feels weak or starting to feel weak, or removes the discomfort so that it can hold a little bit more. So it becomes a little bit more resilient, right? And I would start with 1 and 2 minute, right? 1 and 2 minute with the equivalent of a break. Like if you're doing 1 minute, then stay like this for 1 minute and scan your body. If you do 2 minutes, stay like this for 2 minutes. It's just a starting point for the sake of giving it a number. And there's value on both ends. So the value is that you're doing it. And then the value is that you're studying it. It's not like just, well, I've done it. Like I've seen lots of people do stuff and then they never think about that. Like if you're fasting, you should analyze this. Like you should see what felt stronger. Did you feel healthier? Did you have more energy? Like I find when I eat less, I have more energy, and which doesn't make sense, but it does make sense when you realize that the body spends a lot of energy digesting food. So when you don't eat as much, your body's not spending that energy on digestion as it is on digestion energy. So you have more energy saved. So, nobody told me that. I kind of figured it out on my own. And then I found it, it's like back end, but I actually felt it first. Being when I was a younger man and just working out, and then just eating, and you figure, okay, 3 meals a day, and this is how you do it. And then when I stopped eating lunch and I had more of a breakfast and a dinner, or an early lunch and an early dinner, and then had more time with no food, I definitely felt like way more energy. I just stumbled across that, and then I researched it and found out that was the case. Same with cold water dosing and those kind of environment. I still show people, I think the most notable one you see is Wim Hof and Iceman. And, when I show people this stuff, it's still like in 2022, I'm like, he's been around for years doing this, but still lots of people have never heard of him, never understood his philosophy. And I'm constantly explaining it. And it's not new, guys. It's been around for generations. So, taking the time and feeling that after I do an ice bath or go outside in the cold, and then afterwards feeling the energy and the health and the strength and resiliency that comes from it, is wonderful. That you don't want to miss that. That's, you don't want to miss that time. So I would do it with a push-up. Any variation is fine. I don't really mind. I would also do it with simpler stuff, like let's say like a leg raise. So I'm gonna just lie down on my back, right? And I'm simply just gonna lift my legs up. Now, I mean, whatever's comfortable. If you want to bend or put something under here, but for myself, I try to keep my legs as straight as I can, like you can see them now, right? And I just lie down and I simply hold it for a minute. Now, normally you could do it like this, and it doesn't have to be like 45. It could even be like 1 inch off the ground. It's the 1 inch off the ground is a little bit more like extreme, but not impossible. The idea here is, again, I'm scanning my body as I'm doing this, and I obviously feel a little bit in my thighs, a little bit in the back of my legs, not so much from more of a stretch, but a mild one. And I definitely feel my abs, my upper body almost not as much, but definitely my low back I feel a little bit. So as I'm lying here and breathing for a minute and trying to see what's going on with my body, in many ways, I actually look and say to myself, okay, does that need to be on? Like if I felt my chest, I would say, does the chest really need to be engaged? My toes and my ankles are really relaxed. I have no need there. My knees are soft, the quads are working to hold up, definitely the abs. So the muscles that are working are there. And then I'm trying to support those muscles, trying to support that area. So, and as I'm doing this, as I scan my body, it doesn't take long. I'm going to go ankles, knees, hips, stomach, chest, back, shoulders, arms. When I get to the head, that's when I start to go into my mentality. I say, okay, I'm not agitated. I do this quite a bit for anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes. So what I'm doing right now is not a big agitation. But I know that once I get to about 5 minutes, I start to feel like, oh, come on, I guess I can just do it quick. And I try to challenge myself in a good way to kind of hold it, but not hold it for a number. Hold it because I'm happy, because I have energy, because I want to see strong, but also not at the sacrifice of the suffering, right? So that's also important, right? Like it's wonderful to have goals and it's wonderful to strive for numbers, and if that's what you like, they're okay in moderation. It's normal in our life too to have that, but you don't want to be obsessed over it. You don't want to sit there and go, I have to hold it for a minute, I have to hold it for 2 minutes. It's not the number. The number is just an arbitrary thing. It's how did you feel about it? I mean, I see people, let's say a different example, going for a run, right? They go jogging and they're completely comfortable at 5 to 7K. But then when they get to 12 and, 10 and 12, they feel horrible. They finish and they're like, so the question starts to go is that how can you get to 10 and 12 kilometers in this case, but feel like you're at 5 and 7? So what guides me is the feeling. So I want to do, let's say 10 and 12 as an arbitrary number, but I want to feel good. That's where my focus is. So I want to try to come up with something that gives me the energy and the attitude and the resiliency and the tough to get to 10 to 12 kilometers, but feel like it's 5. It's very much like all the concepts that are taught to people. It's how do you enjoy fasting or enjoy cold water dosing or enjoy resiliency training, but being happy, because your mood is very important. Your people stop things because they had a bad mood for it. It became misery, right? And for every person I've ever seen running or cycling or doing something, when they get obsessed over it, it doesn't become fun. If it doesn't become fun, you stop doing it. So this is the trick: is how do you, you use a number to push yourself. Like, how do I go 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, but make it feel like it was a lot less. This is the trick, okay? So let's try the leg raise again. We're going to do the leg raise, and we're going to do it for 2 minutes this time. And again, if you bring the legs down, the number just speeds up. So, I mean, holding it very, very low, and maybe I'll do that now. I'm going to hold it very low, and you're going to watch what happens to my body. In even a minute, my body will start to shake because the legs are only an inch off the ground. Many more muscles are engaged, and when many more muscles are engaged, you start to get tired quicker. So, yeah, maybe that's not a good way to approach. I'll bend a little bit because I don't want you to practice suffering. I want you to practice resiliency and developing a roadmap to holding longer, suffering more, meaning struggling more, but with a positive mind frame, right? So this is the most important thing that we want to talk about today with resiliency training, right? So here are my legs. I'm going to give them a little bit just for the sake of giving them a little bit more effort. And then I'm just going to lie here as comfortable as I can and breathe. And while I'm breathing, I'm going to scan my body. And the first 10 seconds is not the same as the last 10 seconds, right? So you don't just scan once. Like, you should be kind of scanning here and there, and I scan external, so the muscular system, skeletal system, and then I also scan internal, which is like mind, mind frame, mentality, right? And I kind of look at how they're affected. So far I feel good. I feel strong. My mind is clear. I'm not drifting off and thinking about something else, or I'm trying to be very present, just stick with my breathing, trying to maybe bring some of my prayer and meditation practices into practice in activity, like while I'm doing it. I mean, it's wonderful to find a strong spirit, you know, at a church or when you're in complete quiet. But how do you bring that into your life and find it when you need it in the middle of something? Like, like, how do you find peace in a busy subway, right? How do you find, how do you find a good spirit amongst, evil, I guess, right? So you need to practice this at the time. So breathing is agreeable when everything's ideal, but when it's not ideal, under a little bit of effort, how do I work with that, right? So I'm just sitting here, almost at close to 2 minutes. Very good. So what I felt there for myself was I had many injuries from active sports career. So from lifting a lot of weights in my younger years, I developed some problems with my low back. Nothing crazy, nothing that ever got serious, but it's some tension in the low back. And it's funny how the longer I held that, I could feel that as I was holding, my low back was caving, right? So there was like a space, and I needed to really push down and get rid of that to take the support of the whole stomach. It's not just the front of the abs, but I'm looking at the whole, this whole area to be connected and strong, right? Much like when somebody puts like a weight belt on, like it feels, locked in. Towards the end of that, it felt like it was lifting up. So I definitely detected that. It doesn't have to be like full blown. You should be able to detect when things are happening, even at the minuscule level. Again, there's other ways. I mean, I'm just showing you push-ups and leg raise right now. We're going to do a squat next, more on a wall, or you can do it in the air. I like using a wall just because reinforces good posture, and it allows me to get into a position. Sometimes when you're not on a wall, you'll see this tendency to lean forward, and I want to keep my posture back and know how and feel that with the wall. So that's always a good one. So let me just lift this up and here. Okay, very good. Looks good. I think you guys can see me. Yeah, perfect. So I like to put my heels very close to the wall. I don't like them out, but actually almost when I feel them, well, I do feel my heels touching the wall, feel my bum, my back, my head, and then I slide down, not far, and it's different for everybody, to a place where I feel my calves stretching. So it doesn't have to be deep, like it's maybe a 8 or 10-inch bend in the back of my knees. My head's on the wall, my shoulders on the wall. My feet are about shoulder width apart. They could be wider, but it's fine for now. And I'm just going to stay here. And I'm going to breathe and try to, again, relax as much as I can, but scan my body. And I should feel it in my thighs, without a doubt. I feel a stretch in my calves, which is great. It feels really nice. And there's no upper body activation whatsoever. Like I feel the muscles in front of the kneecap, which is the tibialis, and the muscles that come up to the front of the shin on the outside. I feel the bottom of my foot even, but I feel it good. And now I'm just going to work with my breathing, right? Now, because the leg muscles usually pretty strong, and people that are even moderately active can have pretty strong legs. You'll find that maybe a minute or two is quite easy for them. I don't know. It'll be different for everybody. Just 10 more seconds. I'm just going to wait here and then I'll come a little closer so you can hear me, hopefully. I hope you still hear me. I'm far away now. Okay, good. I should remember that. Maybe we should move this a little closer. I wonder if you guys could have heard me there. I'm sure you did, but who knows? So when you're doing it on the wall, and you might find that your legs are, I can hold quite a bit longer on than the other ones on the wall, not the wall with the squat. Now I'm doing it kind of on the higher end. So in other words, I'm squatting just a little bit down until I feel a stretch. I could go all the way down and sit in a completely seated position. That's another way of doing it. I could do it kind of more like a Roman chair, which is my feet are out. So I'm not on the wall like that. So it's not like that, but it's straight. So it's like I'm seated, here's my bum, my knee, and then my feet are, so I think that's called a Roman chair. Easily you could do it like that. I like this one just because I get the extra stretch in my calves, which I like because the calves are usually pretty tight from, I'm not stretching them enough, I guess. So when you're doing this, so I'll do like this version, the one where your feet are out, I'm sitting, right? So now I'm a little further down, right? And so in this position, I'm gonna hold it for 2 minutes. I can feel it more in my knees, no stretch in my calves whatsoever. But I feel the patella and the tendon above and below the patella. I've lost contact with my glutes on the wall, so I can feel my low back flat. It feels like I'm leaning into the wall and into the floor, and I feel the front of my quads and the back not nearly as much. So it definitely is a different position. I'm going to use my breathing now to kind of pull out any uncomfort. And then I'm also going to use my breathing to support the thighs. So I'm going to say, come on, you can do this. Yeah, you got this. And I'm like channeling air and energy towards the thigh muscles so that they keep going, right? Now we're into the second minute. And then you could also use your breathing and your mentality to think about your head. Say, don't give up. If there's weakness, breathe it in, get it out. Or breathe in strength. Think of something very strong and gives you spirit, a Rocky movie, or something very inspirational. Things like this. I avoid training with music. I guess you could have like instrumental things in the background, like something soothing, a piano, or something that's very calm, because you don't want to mask the information. You want to make sure, there we go, 2 minutes. We want to make sure that because your body's talking to you, we want to be listening. We want to be very present in this case. We don't want to disconnect by listening to some music or some podcast that it's informative. That what you're doing then is distracting yourself. You're saying, okay, I'm going to suffer, but I'm going to distract myself. It is one way. If the main goal is just to accomplish a number. But you don't want to lose that, right? Like we want to work with something. We want to hear what our mind is saying. We want to hear what our body's saying, so that we have something that we understand. Like it's okay, when I have no music, I have almost no motivation. My workouts are half as productive. Well, let's work on our mental. So what are you saying to yourself? You want to carry motivation, your own motivation inside you. You don't want to have to depend on music or somebody else to motivate you. Like in the beginning, it's fine. Like people that work out, they feel if they bring a friend, they're more likely to go because, well, they can cancel on themselves, but they don't want to cancel on their friend. I get it. But after a year or after 6 months, hopefully the benefits of working out or training are so ingrained that you do them on your own, that there is no need for an external motivation, right? Like as I went through university and was reading, I mean, I had to read certain books, but after that, I just love reading. Like I love researching and I love studying. I don't need a course to do that. I can just decide to do that. The motivation of learning is inside me. It's not bound by any educational institution. So if you start with those simple things, holding a push-up, again, trying to feel strong and trying to be resilient and listening to your body, same with the leg raise, same with the squat. I think that, and if you can get to like anywhere between 2 and 5 minutes, a minute, it shouldn't be too difficult depending on your strength. But if you're even mildly active, minute should be pretty standard. Rest for that same time, and then try to get to 2 minutes, but then it feels like 1 minute. So maybe you look like you're suffering, but your mind and body should still feel okay. So this is the end goal. It's to get to 5-10 minutes, because that's what I call my 30-minute resiliency training. I hold a push-up for 10 minutes, I hold the leg raise for 10 minutes, and I hold the squat for 10 minutes. And inside of 30 minutes, okay, 30 minutes, I don't rest for 10 minutes, a couple of minutes to recover. So it's just outside, it's like 36 minutes, like let's say 40 minutes. It's a quick workout. And I wouldn't even call it a workout. I mean, I feel my muscles, of course, but I have so much energy after that. It's like I'm ready to do all kinds of great things. So, it doesn't tire me. It gives me energy. And I feel like I'm in a good place to not give up. So a great way to feel resilient, right? But it takes a while. 10 minutes took me a while, but I have seen people do much more. Like I'm not expert. I don't push it as much as some people are. Really can hold it for a long time. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed it. It doesn't need to be long. It's a quite simple idea and concept for you to work with. Please try it. Okay. Please try it. Resiliency training. Try get it into your monthly, maybe even weekly. I don't know. It's wonderful, right? And try not to distract yourself. Try to be present with the whole thing. And then, much like cold water dosing and fasting, observe the benefits to your body. Observe the strength, the mental, the physical, the psychological, the spiritual. Like it should touch all parts of you. Okay. Hope you enjoyed everything, guys. I will see you next week for some more good stuff. Bye, everybody.